Alright guys, today we're going to be going over the 2018 Mr. Olympia, specifically the Men's Open. Now, the reason I want to start off and cover this is because this was probably the most exciting Olympia in years, man, maybe the last decade. So, Phil Heath obviously he claimed the last 7 before this, and everybody thought he was going to take the 8th, including myself. I didn't think anybody could challenge him. Now, a lot of people still think that Phil actually won this competition. I will go on record and say that I think Sean won it fair and square. But you could make an argument for Phil, or even Rolly if you wanted to. But I'll get into why I think that. Okay, so we're going to go over the mandatories, and starting off with the front double bicep, most of these guys look pretty good here. If you ask me, I would say that Sean Roden takes it. Rolly looks very good as well. Most of these guys got really good biceps. And the funny thing is, Sean probably has the weakest biceps of all 4. But contrary to so many YouTubers that I see talk about this stuff, just because the pose is named front double bicep does not mean that you're solely viewing the biceps, right? It's the name of a pose and you're looking at the whole body. And Sean looks amazing, man. Aesthetics, the V-taper looks amazing. Everything's just phenomenal. And I think he takes it based on that, and his conditioning is very good. Phil's is very good too, but to me, Sean, takes the spotlight here. All right, and here we're going into the front lat spread. And again, I'd have to say Sean takes it. Now, most of these guys are pretty weak here. Nobody really shines here. The reason I would give Sean the win is because I think, again, it boils down to aesthetics. His V-taper looks really good. He's not so arm dominant like the rest of them that it overshadows his lats. Rolly has massive lats, right? But, his arms are so big. And you know what? I'm just going to say it, man. I love Rolly, but he hits this pose awkwardly. I'm not a fan of how his legs are set up. And I'm also just, I don't know. Overall, I just think Sean looks the best. But again, even Sean is not like a master at the front lat spread. In this set of 4 guys, he looks the best. Moving into the side chest, this proves to be a tougher choice. Realistically, again, and I know I probably sound biased at this point, but trust me, I'm not. I think Sean wins it. This is very controversial. I've heard a lot of other people talk about how Phil should have won this pose. Realistically, all 4 look phenomenal. I think you could feasibly give it to any of these guys because it is that close. They all have really good chests, and beyond just the chest, their shoulders, their arms, their legs, the conditioning's on point for all 4 of these guys. Now, the reason I probably go to Sean is his legs, his hams, glutes, chiseled, man. I haven't seen that kind of conditioning on the side leg like that in a long time. Now, when you get to the upper body, they all look phenomenal. But as a whole package, man, the chest, the shoulders, the arms, which are not really a strong point for Sean, but they look damn good here, man. He just pulls the attention more than the other guys. And you could make a case for, again, any of these 4. But in my book, Sean takes the side chest. As far as the back double bicep goes, Phil is a clear winner here. Bonac, solid second. He has come up so much in the last few years that he impresses the hell out of me, man. He is a solid bodybuilder. Now, I don't want to be the dick to say this, but I think everybody knows his height is most likely going to be the thing that holds him back from being a number 1 Mr. Olympia. Now, he could have won the 2019, but we had a lot of people off. And I'm not saying he can't win in the future. It's just, again, in the world of bodybuilding, all things being equal, bigger is always better. So again, nothing against the man because he is phenomenal. But yeah, Phil takes this pose. Now, as far as Roden and Rolly go, they both have a similar issue here, man. High lats. The insertion on their lats suck, but it's genetic. What can you do about it? As far as the development in the upper back, they both are very respectable. Rolly looks chiseled in the upper back. Now, here's my issue with Rolly, though. So many people give this man crap about not having lower lats. Dude, wait till we get to the rear lat spread. Look at this man's lower lats. Dude, he has one of the thickest backs in the lat spread. It's incredible. So that's what makes me think maybe it's a posing technique, because physically, if you have lower lats in one pose, it's not like you just don't have the development in another pose. It just makes me think he's not engaging them properly. But again, I don't know. This man has been a pro for so long. I would imagine he knows how to pose, so I could be wrong about this. But and also, another point I want to bring up here, because it bothers me. So many people are jumping on the bandwagon saying, oh, Phil, he was off 2018. This man was not off, dude. If you look at this pose right here, this dude was chiseled, man. He came in, his hamstrings looked insane, man. Feathered, striated. His back was carved out of granite, man. He looked phenomenal. Was he as good as 2011 or 2013, 2012? No, obviously not. He's been doing this for so long, you cannot hold that level of perfection for that long. Eventually, you will start to fade. Dexter Jackson is starting to fade. Now, he looked phenomenal this year, but if you compare him to how he looked in 2008 when he won the Olympia, there's definite signs of aging. So that's all that is. He was not as clean, his lines were not as clean as they were back in the day, but he was very, very much on. With the rear lat spread, I think it's pretty clear to see that Phil and Rolly are leading the pack here. As far as Bonac and Roden, they're just not quite there. Bonac is very complete, very thickly developed. My problem with Bonac is two different things. He and Kai Green have a very similar look in this pose, and their flaws are very similar. One being that what usually is a good thing with having very low inserted lats is actually hurting both of them in this pose, because it just throws off the aesthetics. It looks so bizarre to have the back go straight into the glutes like that. Now, also, I think that his lats, the whole back, the detail is just not there. Very thickly developed. Everything is there. It's just the detail is not quite up to par with Phil or Rolly. Roden, on the other hand, he's not as thickly developed in the back, but he has a very nice V-taper, good width, lower half looks phenomenal, but his upper back is just washed out. The detail's not there, and it's just, I would have to chalk it up to posing technique, because I've seen him look much better in the past. Now, if you ask me who would win that pose, I would guess a judge would give it to Phil. Me personally, I'm a huge Rolly Winkler fan. I think he looks phenomenal in that pose. I think he's underrated in that pose. I would like to give it to him, but because he doesn't have the hamstrings or glutes to hang with Phil, Phil would take that pose. Okay, the side tricep. I'm going to give Sean the win here. And before everybody looks at me like I'm crazy or clicks off this video, listen. I'm going to use this to drive a point home. Everybody's free to have their opinions, but something's been bugging me. All right, I've been watching a lot of videos on YouTube about this, and it seems to be a common thought that because the pose is called the side tricep, that the tricep is really what's being judged. I've seen people say, oh, hey, right here, Rolly Winkler has the biggest triceps in history. They look amazing. He wins this pose. That is not how this is judged. That's not how it goes down. I've even looked on the IFBB websites. I've listened to judges talk about this thing. I can't say for sure because I am not a judge, but from all my research and just common sense, just because the pose is called the side tricep doesn't mean that you're only weighing in the tricep, right? And on that point, if you're looking at Phil and Sean here, while Sean's triceps are very underdeveloped, especially compared to Phil and Rolly, the rest of his body is so damn good. It's so aesthetic, man. It just draws the eye. And if you wanted to give this to Phil, I totally get that. I am on board. He is very close. But to me, I think Roden wins it because he knows what his strong points are, and that's why he does, like, halfway through the pose, he turns from doing the conventional side tricep, where the side of his body showing, he turns almost like 45 degrees to showcase the front of his body because he knows his midsections. First off, he knew that Phil's midsection was blown out this year, so he played into that as any intelligent person would, and it basically... it's one of the big things that won him the contest is he exploited that any chance he could, and this pose is no different. I think he is just killing everybody on aesthetics. Bonac looks actually pretty damn aesthetic too, but because he was fourth place, he was a distant, competitor. I'm not really going to weigh in too much on Bonac, but yeah, Sean, I think, takes this. If you wanted to give it to Phil, that's fine. I get it, but all things weighed in, I think Sean looks the best here. For the abs and thighs, I think we all can clearly see that Sean is killing everybody. Now, I don't want to say he's killing Rolly because Rolly has come so far in his midsection and in development in the quads. Or should I say conditioning in the quads, more separation. That he looks really good here. Very, very respectable. But nobody's touching Sean, man. The only one that could do it in the top 8 or so would be Dexter. But Dexter's midsection, I feel like it almost spills over a little bit. Has kind of like a turtle shell look to it. Now, he's always had that. But his midsection was a bit tighter back in the day. And now it doesn't look as good or aesthetic. But it is still very, very world class. My point being is that Sean is leading the pack on the abs and thighs. And nobody is close to touching him. Phil, I'm not going to sit here and tear into this guy about his midsection, man. Everybody's aware what happened. Now, I know he said the reason for the blown out gut and the midsection issues was torn... I don't know, man. He had some kind of surgery, and I think he kept saying it was like torn incisions or something. Some kind of problem with the surgery he had a year prior to this contest. Now, I've seen a lot of people talk about this. I'm not saying that wasn't a factor. I just mostly think that he has distension problems, man. I think he was winded. I think he had a very tough time controlling his breathing. And I think that was one of the main things that caused him to breathe very heavily through the stomach. Like, he was very out of breath. And there was that one moment where Sean basically turned and stared at him. And when I seen that on the live stream, when it was actually happening in 2018, I thought that was hilarious. Sean, that was brilliant, man. That was a very smart way to exploit someone else's weaknesses. I really think that was very clever. Even though someone might say that's unsportsmanlike, that was a very smart move. Very clearly showing the judges why you should be winning this contest. For the final pose here, the most muscular, this has always been Phil and Rolly's pose here. Funny enough, though, Bonac looks insanely good right here. This hands clasped most muscular pose for him. He's just catching all the light. He looks phenomenal. Round 3D. Very Phil Heath-like. Sean looks phenomenal. Now, for the most muscular, because this pose is very focused on size and just raw muscularity, I can't in good faith give it to him. I don't think anybody could, but I will give him credit where credit's due. I think he looks much better than people give him credit for here, just because of the aesthetics. It's not like he's a small dude. I think he weighed in at like 260 for this contest, so that's a respectable weight, man. He looks good. But when you look at the two gents on the right, Phil and Rolly, two of the best to ever hit this pose, he's just not coming close here. Rolly and Phil are very comparable to each other here. I like Rolly better here just because he's wider in the shoulders. It makes his chest and everything look a little bit cleaner. But Phil, man, it's hard to go wrong there either. So that's basically a toss-up, however you want to split it. So that was my analysis of the 2018 Mr. Olympia. And as I've said before, I agree with the fact that Sean Roden won this contest. I think he was the best bodybuilder on those two nights. And it was, regardless of whether you agree or disagree with the judges, you cannot deny that it was probably the most entertaining show that we've seen in a long time. Phil has been so easily taking these Olympias. It just kind of got boring, man. I still watched them, you know. It was still entertaining to watch and see everybody and how they came in, see who was off, who was on. But when you know the ending, you know, if you're going to see a movie and somebody ruins the twist ending before you even see it, you know, it takes something out of the experience. So Sean coming in and surprising everybody and looking at his all-time best and winning the show, that mixed things up so much. I was so happy. I'm so excited to see where bodybuilding goes. With Brandon Curry winning it this year, it definitely seems like we're heading in a direction of more of bodybuilders with more lines, presentation, symmetry, flow, you know. So I think this is a good thing. But you know what? This has been a long video. I'm going to go ahead and end this. Thanks for tuning in. I'm still coming up with ideas to make a lot more of these kind of videos. So stay tuned. I got some more stuff coming. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.